Hello guys, this is Rachel Leishman.
And this is Lauren Milberger.
And we are back with the Fuller Cast episode 5.
Yes, thank you for waiting. We're back.
And we're going to talk about heroes.
We are. It's very hard to Google heroes and the word Harrison Ford because the movie doesn't come up.
No, heroes.
Something else comes up. So
the TV show.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to start off by talking about some news because there's been lots and lots of news.
Yes, since we've been away.
Yeah. So,
I'll start.
Yes.
Just small news. Star Wars won a couple of MTV Movie Awards. Harrison did not win any, but it won Best Movie, and Adam Driver won Best Villain, and Daisy Ridley won Best Breakout Performance. So it was Movie of the Year.
Yeah, and Blade Runner now has a new release date.
It does.
It'll be next year, 2017, on October 6th.
Which means that it'll come out before the next Star Wars movie does.
Yeah. No. Rogue One will come out.
Oh, well, yes. I guess I'm counting, like, the next in the trilogy that I'm dying to find out what happens.
Rogue One will come out
yes.
prior to this, but...
The next in the trilogy. Number 8 will come out after
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And also, for the Faces, Finding a Cure for Epilepsy and Seizures... Harrison Ford is auctioning off his Han Solo jacket. And it is... Ooh.
Well, he did.
Oh, he did. And it sold for 191 million?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Holy shit. Well, okay, whoever has that much money...
No, actually, that's 1,000.
Okay, so it's still a lot of money.
Yes.
But not near... I thought it was million, and that would have been... utterly insane.
And probably would not have surprised me.
No, but who has that? But no one has that much money, obviously, because it was only $191,000 is still the price of a small house. So.
Yeah, and he signed it.
Okay.
So, does this person wear it? I'm really curious, like, did the person buy to wear it? Are they going to put it, like, in a glass case?
I don't know what they're doing with it.
Yeah, but the money goes to Faces.
That's great. Like, I'm so glad that they did that. But also, who bought it? You're insane.
They must really like Star Wars.
Yeah, I like Star Wars a lot, but I'm not going to spend $191,000 on a coat.
Do you have that kind of money to spend on a coat?
I'm sure if I went and got a bank loan, I could.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you want to remind everyone what Faces is?
Faces, yeah, I said it's finding a cure for epilepsy and seizures. God, Lauren.
We've had really long days, guys.
No, yeah, it's the organization that he came to New York for his daughter. Because Georgia has epilepsy.
Yes. And then I just want to make some corrections from last week, which were pointed out to me as well as myself afterwards, is that I just feel bad that I forgot to mention that Marcia Lucas was one of 3 editors that won the Oscar that year. I'm not even sure I even mentioned she won the Oscar, but I didn't want it to seem like she was the only one that edited it. It was out of... they won 6 out of 10 Oscar nominations that year. And then also on SoundCloud, Sarah Mary Jones, hi, I'm sure she didn't want me to mention her name, but I just did, pointed out that I was right about something from last week, that Star Wars The Force Awakens is not the number 1 box office movie of all time. It is Avatar, and then Titanic, and then number 3 is Star Wars The Force Awakens. And it is also number 3 in all of the franchises as well. It's Harry Potter, James Bond, and then Star Wars.
But it's number 1 domestic, isn't it?
It's like everything. It's not, no.
No, it's number 1 somewhere. So
not anything that I found.
Yeah, I think it's domestic. It's number 1. I am not completely wrong, and I'm going to prove that I'm not completely wrong.
So Sarah Mary Jones is wrong, and I'm wrong. But for inflation, Star Wars is number 3. The New Hope is number 3. So the listing was a lot of things like actually adjusting for how much money at the time. So Star Wars and
domestically, the highest grossing movie is Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Oh, look at that!
With a domestic box office of $935,832,841.
I have been proven wrong, and
so
and
Sarah Marie excuse me. Worldwide, it is like you were right on the other 2 accounts.
Gotcha. Okay, so
but I was not completely wrong. So I come from a family of Libras, and so I will not take that I was completely wrong, but I will admit that I was wrong, but I was not completely wrong.
And I will admit that I was apparently wrong as well. But
not completely wrong. Just throwing it out there. So, there's that.
That's that. And I just want to thank Wendy from the Going Solo podcast for emailing us and sending us some really awesome thoughts on the podcast, which she enjoys. And she gave me some really cool information that we will get to in some future episodes that we'll talk about.
And then we got a wonderful rating on iTunes from someone named Clairvoyant.
Yeah, I think it's a fake name.
I think they're psychic.
Okay.
But they said it was a fun look at Harrison Ford's career, roll by roll, 5 stars. So, thanks for the 5 stars. Preesh. But yeah, it was really, really awesome.
And congrats to Hamilton on the Pulitzer.
Yes, congrats on Hamilton. And I know that Harrison did bring somebody because he was seated directly next to the guy who my friend knows.
Who I think commented on the SoundCloud
Probably.
Yeah.
It's very funny because my friend, I read the story and he was directly beside Harrison Ford and Harrison Ford was asking him about his sweatshirt. Because he had, his college sweatshirt on.
Oh, really?
He goes, yes.
More information.
I was, talking to Harrison. Harrison Ford was asking him questions and the guy was like, I like your work. It was, one of those that, they said it was, he was very nice to them because they weren't doing, everybody else where people would come up and be like, can I have a picture? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And they were just like, I like your body of work. And then proceeded to just talk to them, and so they were super nice to them.
Oh, that's so cool. That's how you do it.
So Lauren is going to talk a little bit about where Harrison Ford was in his career.
Yeah, I found out some really interesting stuff. For one thing, apparently George Lucas actually gave a part of the proceeds of the box office to Harrison.
So he flat out lies every time someone asks him about a fucking New Hope. Because the best was when Carrie called him out and he was like, I made $1,000. And she was like, no, we didn't. We did not.
I think he means that at the beginning.
But it's so funny.
He didn't get this money till later.
Yeah, but it's so funny because Harrison Ford is always like, oh yeah, we didn't make that much for A New Hope. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Yes, you did.
I think he means initially.
Whatever.
Because I also found out that...
it wasn't still $1,000 a week? That's still a lot of money, Harrison. Back in the 70s, $1,000 a week was not a small amount of money.
I would be happy with $1,000 a week right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he bought a Porsche.
Oh, yeah, you're so poor.
He bought a new house.
Fucking Porsche and a house.
But that was... He actually saw a rough cut of the movie before it came out, and he saw it and had a really good idea that it was probably going to have a big impact in his career, whether people got it or not. So he really made a conscious effort from then on, and you'll see as a lot of movies that sort of came out, to do things that were completely different than Han Solo. So this was why he wanted to do this role. The director said that he was very shy when he came in for the audition, that he wasn't really sure at first, and then he invited him back and talked to him and was like, okay, he's really good, I like this guy. And Harrison actually went to Missouri, because that's where his character's from. And interviewed people who were kind of like his character, and recorded them and got the accent down. So he really put a lot of effort into it. And his manager said that this particular, and he got really good notices in it, he would send it out. She would send it out, and it got him a lot of other parts. So even though this movie was not a big hit, he started to become sort of strategic about what he was going to do next, and that was why he picked this movie. He's really not the star of it. I mean, obviously, Star Wars had not come out yet, but Henry Winkler was a really big star. He played the Fonz on Happy Days.
He's so short.
Yeah,
he's such a short little man.
We Jews are very short.
Oh, Henry Winkler is such a short little man.
So he was also doing this movie to kind of get out of the shadow of the Fonz, and then Sally Field,
the Flying Nun.
Yeah, and Gidget. Yeah, she just had done Sybil. I'm not sure actually if it had come out yet, but she was talking on the Nerdist how it was so hard to get out of that shell and have people to take her seriously. So this was sort of their way to kind of push themselves out there again. And I read this really great story that there was like a scene where they were filming and people were asking for Henry and Sally's autograph and they were like bothering them. And Harrison was just sort of, being off to the side, and the director was like, "That's going to be you very soon." And he was like, No, not at all. Like, I don't want that. That's not me.
And then you become the biggest movie star ever.
Yeah, and he's talked about that. It like took him a really long time to kind of, come to terms with that.
Oh, Harrison.
I think it's a hard thing to have to deal with, or all of a sudden, particularly if you're a very private person, that everyone wants sort of, a piece of you.
It's like that Britney Spears song.
Britney Spears?
Yeah, she has a song called Piece of Me.
Oh.
She's like, "You want a piece of me?" Anywho's, so this movie...
You want to do your little summary?
Yeah, I don't care about anything except Harrison Ford's scenes, because I thought it was a GIF set from just like him living his life. I didn't know it was from the movie.
Oh, you
where
didn't?
He cracks the beer can on his head. And I literally was like, he is the epitome of the all-American, like, Midwestern dude. He's in a plaid shirt with a trucker hat on, and he's drinking a beer and then just smashes it on his forehead. And I thought it was just, like, him hanging out. I didn't know it was from the movie until I started watching it and was like, oh, that's in the movie.
Do you want to talk a little bit about his character, give people a sense who haven't seen it, who he is?
So the movie is all about... people say that Henry Winkler is crazy, but what he is he is a Vietnam War vet who comes back. He clearly has post-traumatic stress disorder, and no one's really helping him through it. Like, instead of, like, sitting with him, they just think he's crazy and throw him in the insane asylum. And so him and a couple of his buddies from the army are planning on making a worm farm, which I did not understand the whole premise behind that. So basically, like, the movie goes on, you find out one's dead, one left, one whatever. Well, Harrison's character, Kenny, is the first one you meet. And Kenny races cars. I'm using quotation marks because you never see him race the car. Like, he hasn't, and they, like, allude to the fact that he never actually races.
Yeah, it's really kind of sad, actually. He makes it seem like that's what his job is that he is
a race car driver.
Yeah, and he's really not. He gets to the point of doing it, and everyone makes fun of him that he doesn't do it, and he kind of chickens out.
Yeah, he's a chicken shit. But he works on a farm in Missouri, and so a lot of his family, like, his family lives in the big house, but he's, like, fought with them since he came back, so now he lives in a trailer because they're like, "Oh, you don't do any work." And so then when Henry Winkler and Sally Fields come, they help him, like, rebuild the chicken coops and kind of, like, get his life in a little bit more order.
It's sort of built up as a sort of a bit of a meet-cute thing where he escapes from the sort of, we're using quotes again, insane asylum, or really it's a hospital for Vietnam vets, after he's sort of thrown in there, and you find out that he keeps being sent back. He can't really seem to live in the real world. And he runs into Sally Field at the bus station. And because
he uses her bag to hide away from the cops.
Yeah, but he also helps her get on the bus because he bought the last ticket. It's a very sort of like keep being thrown into each other. I'm not really sure exactly after a while like why she keeps staying with him, but they end up on the bus together and start to sort of become friends. And she's running away from getting married, and he's running away from the law. Yeah,
and so when they get to Harrison, he's the all-American boy. There's, like, a shirt where he's just, like, in an unbuttoned plaid shirt.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like, there is no reason for it.
With, like, a trucker hat. And then what I also thought was funny is, so they get kicked off this bus, and they end up, staying with, with Harrison, because they want to sort of grab the people from his, they're all in his tour of duty. They were all in his platoon, I guess is the word, to come together and do this dream they all had of this worm farm. What was I getting at? Oh, yeah. So they start to put together what is it? Not a chicken coop. It's a rabbit pen,
It's for the rabbits because he's supposed to have a bunch of rabbits because worms eat rabbit shit.
Yeah, literally shit. Like, we're not kidding. Like,
yeah, like the worms live in the rabbit shit.
And
he's 3 and he's supposed to raise all these bunnies.
He didn't have them.
And he didn't have the thing.
Yeah. So they decide to, Henry Winkler particularly, is like, we're going to put this together. And I thought it was so funny that, like, he's the real carpenter. And they barely show him actually putting together this chicken.
But it's so funny because if you look,
rabbit.
if you look, Henry Winkler and Sally Field go to hammer, and the nails like bend sideways,
really?
and then Harrison Ford has one like in his mouth, and he's like perfectly hammering one in a scene. And I was just like, why would you show the shot of the crooked nail? Like, it's like they hit it, and it was like, you know when you hit a nail and it bends sideways and like nails in sideways? That's what they did. They just left it, and I was like, dude, what? And they of course like showed it like, oh look, Sally Field put a nail in the thing. I was like, yeah, crooked.
It was very obvious that it was about the two of them.
Yes.
Yes, but I think
It was a fun movie. I really liked it.
He's really good in it.
Yeah, when he's screaming. In one scene,
Oh, when he gets so mad. Yeah, there's a scene where he's sort of being taunted by the guys at the racetrack because he doesn't actually race. He sort of, when you find out, and he gets he's good at being angry.
He didn't point. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, but he's very much into a character in this. Like, I was very, very impressed. Like, the accent is really good. He doesn't feel like Harrison Ford. Like, he feels like this sort of, like,
when he first started talking, I was like, oh, I wonder when Harrison Ford's going to come in. And I didn't realize it was him.
Oh, you didn't?
And
hey,
so, like,
he would love that.
Like, because I, turned, and then I was like, oh, that is him. So it didn't sound like him.
He would love that you said that.
Sure. Hey, Harrison, I didn't know that was you. Just want to let you know.
Something that made me laugh from like an historical point of view is that the movie starts off where he's just Henry Winkler's character is just sort of in Times Square like doing stuff, and one of the things that he does is that he goes into, I guess, sort of like a novelty sort of shop, and he pays to have his picture printed on a piece of paper. It's 1976 really, but the movie came out in November of 77, so it came out after Star Wars, but he filmed it before Star Wars came out. And I thought, wow, look how far we have come, that he just paid to get his picture printed on
yeah, like it was like the printer, and I was like, all right, great, cool, like, yeah, that's something I would fucking do.
I thought for a second, I was like, is he getting a passport?
I was like, oh, he's getting a driver's license. No, he wrapped it up and took it with him.
Because probably it was too expensive to have that kind of thing. So, oh, hey, we're going to go and like getting glamour shots or something. That was really interesting. And also seeing Times Square, because we live here.
It did not even look like Times Square.
That's how it looked in 77. If you watch the the TV series Vinyl, they do a really good job of sort of recreating that with like CGI and stuff, and that's sort of how it looked. A lot of those buildings just aren't there anymore.
Yup.
Which I think is interesting. So it's for his performance, I think it's really a good movie for that, and they're adorable in it. I wouldn't say it's a great movie. I don't really understand how she falls in love with him. I mean, they're cute together, but I don't really understand how Sally Field and Henry Winkler, like, there's literally a scene at the end where she's crying on his chest, please don't be crazy, in that great way that Sally Field cries. And then he seems okay, and then they play Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas.
That's how love works. I don't know if you know about this.
Apparently.
But that's how it works.
Which I was not expecting, actually, for that song to play, because when I went on Amazon to rent it, there were all these comments underneath saying how it's not on the DVD, I guess because they couldn't pay for the rights, but for some reason maybe they can for the download.
iTunes is like, I got this. Carry On My Wayward Son can be in this. If Supernatural can use this song 80 million times, you guys can use it for one movie.
Well, the issue now is that it's a contract thing. Is that nowadays there's this different kinds of contracts because they know, okay, if we're going to use this song, we know all these different elements that it's going to be in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big fan of Murphy Brown, and the reason that season 2 is not on DVD is because all of these Motown songs that they have are too expensive. So they're kind of stuck.
I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Maybe it's because I like the Midwestern look about a man. Or maybe he's just tall and shirtless the whole time.
I did not like it. I enjoyed it. I mean, out of the movies that we've been watching lately, it was enjoyable, and I cared about them. I think I actually cried a little at the end. I do like road pictures, though. I like the idea of people traveling across the country, and then they, as characters, change as they travel.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't Henry Winkler and Sally Field. I wish Harrison Ford was in it more. Maybe that's just because I like Henry Winkler's fine. He was Dr. Saperstein. It's fine.
And wait, in what?
Dr. Saperstein in Parks and Recreation.
Oh, God, I forgot that he was in that.
He was the father to Mona Lisa.
Yes, he was. He's wonderful. He's also great as...
Jean-Ralphio. I almost forgot John Ralphio's name for a minute. Oh no.
He's the lawyer in Arrested Development.
He went and did like...
He would go on to do Night Shift, which is probably a much more better example of his movie work than Heroes. It didn't do very well. Harrison got good notices, but the movie really sort of flopped.
Yeah, as it should have. I mean, like, it was
adorable.
Fine movie.
It's nice to see his performance because it's very different from what we know him as.
Yeah, but I just hate all these stupid 1970s movies that are like, comedy. Like, what? Getting Straight was not a comedy. And this is not a comedy.
But here's the issue. I think in retrospect, the reason why they're not a comedy is because...
they weren't funny at the time. How is PTSD funny?
That's what I'm saying, is that these are things that now, in retrospect, we know are not funny. And that was why...
Back then it shouldn't have been funny.
Well, yeah. But back then, they considered it a comedy because that's all I'm saying.
That's stupid. The only funny part was when he took the beer and was like, yeah, I'm done, and smashed on his head and threw the can. I was like, good boy. That didn't need to happen, but you did it.
No, it seemed to be a movie kind of before its time, not really understanding its place.
No. And Sally, like, I love Sally Field, too. Maybe because people think I look like her, but...
I love Sally Field. And she's adorable. God, she's just adorable. Like, the two of them, it was very well cast. It makes you care about the characters.
Yeah, but also, like, what human being lets a man, like, destroy a restaurant... annoy you, take your ticket, and then you're still like, yup, this is my friend. No. My ass would have been like, no, screw you. I'm getting on a bus. I'm going back to New York.
Well, that's what I said, too. I didn't understand why she kept staying with this guy.
No, it's like in improv, they tell you, like, they're like, if you want to leave a scene and they're not giving you a reason to stay, leave the scene. Yeah. I mean, like, they're like, they have to make you, like, your scene can't be you just... awkwardly like, I'm gonna stand here because you, like, we can't have a one-person scene. They're like, if you're not making me stay, fucking leave. This whole movie was that. Like, there is no reason you're in the same
and just, I feel like maybe we're losing people because the summary really didn't sort of get that far. But pretty much is that the two of them sort of pick each other up and they go on this cross-country trip together. And she could leave any time because she's getting married on Sunday.
Yeah, and she doesn't goes on a bus ride.
She stayed because she's the love interest.
Whatever. It's stupid. I would have rather watched a movie of Sally Field being like, nah, fuck you guys. I'm going to go off in the car with Harrison Ford, or I'm going to turn around and go back to New York.
Yeah, well, he wasn't the lead. So.
I don't care. Henry Winkler. Who chooses Henry Winkler?
The Fonz, he was huge.
I know the Fonz was huge, but I never thought the Fonz was attractive.
Well, there were a lot of people at the time that did. But this did not help his film career. So he went back to playing the Fonz.
He was like, nah, that didn't work. I'm going to be the Fonz.
It was very lucrative for him.
Ugh, whatever, Henry Winkler. You're fine. He's on Twitter. He's fine.
I love Henry Winkler. He writes these really great books for kids about a hero who's dyslexic. He's a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a nice man. That doesn't take away from the fact that this movie was terrible.
It was not a good choice for them. But you know what?
Earlier I said I didn't hate this movie, and now I'm like, it's terrible.
Yeah. But you know what? It was a stepping stone for all of them. And
Harrison Ford was like incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Which was weird.
But there's actually something that I really liked that Henry Winkler said about Harrison Ford. He said that they were like bread and butter, that they really worked well together, and there was like no ego. But he said you had to be on your toes because he acts with the same intensity that he lives.
What does that mean, Henry Winkler?
Oh, no. You don't know what that means?
No. The same intensity he lives. Well, who fucking knows how he lives? He's a private-ass person.
He's saying that he lives life to the fullest and he acts to the fullest. That's how I took it.
You jumped a shark on a motorbike.
Maybe we should talk about that. People might not know.
That's from Happy Days.
I know, but Jump the Shark has become a very famous
Jumping the Shark is a famous saying from Happy Days because the Fonz was like, I can jump it. And he jumped a fucking shark with a motorcycle.
But it's become a thing that people don't realize where it comes from. It does.
Yeah,
it comes from Happy Days.
And it's I hate sharks, so I think it's fucking dumb. But
which is where it comes from. It was so dumb that they feel that the show was ruined from then on.
Good.
So
as it should have been.
When a TV show is said to have jumped the shark.
Yeah, like Glee, second half of season 1, jumped the fucking shark already.
I didn't watch the second half of Glee. I gave up after a while.
I love Glee. Still.
think I watched the full season 1. But anyway, we're getting off on a tangent.
Yeah, but no, yes. That's where that comes from.
So see this movie for Harrison's performance.
Yeah, honestly, like, he's very good in it because it is nothing like normal. And maybe it's because, from what I've noticed in the beginning of his career, he wasn't pigeonholed. So he played, like, he could play these characters and people weren't like, oh, Harrison Ford's playing that. Like, it was very much like, oh, I can play the character from The Conversation that had that weird, cool backstory that Harrison Ford came up with.
Yeah.
Or this, where it's like this little character who, like, has so much life and so much character and is so complex, even though he's in the movie for, like, an hour.
Yeah. Which was, like I said, was very important, and it was really actually a very important movie in his career because that's exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to do as many movies that were not like Han Solo's, that he could show people that he could do more.
Yeah.
And like I said, his manager said that it got him a lot of work, this part.
But I mean, then he ends up pigeonholed. He very much ends up pigeonholed.
Yes, he
does. But it also then led to later in his career having roles that weren't pigeonholed. So, like, his role in 42, his role in Morning Glory, the little cameo he does in even fucking Anchorman. It's like he's not pigeonholed in those anymore. He's more like, oh, I can play this weird character that has, like, a weird backstory. Especially in 42, because isn't he the owner of the Dodgers?
I haven't seen 42 yet,
I
but
think
I'm
he
pretty
plays
sure
either.
he is.
I think he's either the owner or he's Jackie Robin's manager. He's a figurehead.
When we get to that point, that's a whole thing we'll talk about.
Yes.
Is that's when he stops being
pigeonholed,
but also stops being the lead.
Yeah.
If you notice, and we get to that point in his career, he starts to become more of a co-star in films. So that's something that we'll talk about when we get there as well. Is that was probably, we'll see if it was, because I'll do my research. Was a strategy, and right now this whole movie was a strategy. And he said he did not care that no one went to see it. Because he got good reviews, and he did it for the industry. He did it so casting directors would see him that he had range.
Yeah, and then I think it probably was one of the reasons he ended up getting Blade Runner, because Blade Runner is very different from, like, Rick is very, very different from Han and Indy. Where Han and Indy are smart, they're, like, clever, and the way that, like they're quick-witted.
Yeah.
And, like, all of his characters kind of have that, like, sarcasm and the quick wit about them. Like, Rick doesn't. Rick is very, like, this was my life, this is what I'm doing, like,
but it's still that sort of action sci-fi genre.
No, but that's looking at, like, okay, that's saying, all right, action sci-fi, that's saying that Star Wars and Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, because they're all under the same umbrella, are the exact same, and they're not.
That's
so
true.
It's like, these characters are, Indy and Han do have a lot more similarities, but Rick is completely different. And I think it's roles like this that show, like, oh, he has all this diversity that kind of led to him getting Rick.
But from an industry point of view, he was pigeonholed into that. Because Witness, when we get to Witness, there's a big deal about the fact that Peter Weir didn't want to direct him in it, that he saw him as this sort of, action, adventure, sci-fi guy. And so Witness has really sort of pushed him out of that to be able to do different kinds of movies.
Oh,
so the industry also is going to see it a little bit differently than we do.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's all he cared about in this movie was he wanted industry people to see him in a different way.
We'll talk about when we get to it. I don't understand. I mean, he's fantastic in Witness, but I don't understand how that movie was nominated for Oscars.
He was nominated for an Oscar for it.
Yeah, I don't understand how he was great, but I don't understand how that movie was nominated for Oscars.
Gotcha.
Because that movie is like, the writing of it makes me want to claw my eyes out.
We'll save it.
Don't waste it. I don't want to waste it, but I also, like, it. I've never been that aggravated. Like, I'm like, I understand why he was nominated.
Yeah.
He was great in it. But there is literally one scene where they're all just screaming for no reason. And I watched it, and I was just like, what are you all doing? Like, it was like, ah! And I was like, oh, no one's speaking words. There are no words. It's just yelling. And I hate it. But you're right, like, all of this leads up to that. Like, this little role leads to him being able to do things like Witness, doing things like The Fugitive, like, What Lies Beneath, like, the ones that are, like...
Frantic. Also a great movie.
Yeah, I love Frantic. But, like, it's, like, these crazy movies that you're like, oh, my God, like, this is great. Like, he got these because, he showed his diversity. But at the same time, Witness just makes me so angry. And every time I say Witness, I spit because I go, Witness, because I get so mad. He looks great in that movie. He says my name a bunch. He says, Rachel, when we almost made love last night, I was like, thank you, Harrison Ford.
I still say that should be your ringtone.
Yeah, Rachel, when we almost made love last night, I'm like, yes, queen.
Oh, look who's calling me.
Who's calling me? But yeah, But this movie did give him the leeway to do those kind of movies.
So it's an important stepping stone.
And on that note, we have some new contest rules.
Yes. So because we are pre-recording most of spring, it's really going to be impossible for us to pick a winner.
Sorry, guys, I have improv class.
So I've decided to extend it through all of our spring episodes so that we'll announce it in June. And to make it easier, since we're really not going to be live and be able to sort of, deal with it that way, there's going to be a link that I've posted on the Tumblr, and then we'll also post on the Twitter and remind you guys. And all you have to do now is just go to a link and fill out the answer to the trivia question. Every episode will drop and there'll be a new trivia question. We'll give you a new chance to enter so you can get more than one entry. And then we will announce who gets the beautiful vintage picture of Harrison Ford and a surprise Star Wars gift as well.
I want the Star Wars gift.
Well, you can't get it.
I'll win the trivia.
Yes, every week Rachel's going to answer
I'm
her
answering
own trivia question.
trivia so I can win those buttons.
But you have to listen to every episode to find out the answer to the trivia, and then you also have to be following us on social media as well, because it's a social media contest.
And then next episode we have a special episode.
We do.
Because we're recording these all in one day, and Lauren and I, when Tribeca was going on, we went to a couple of things together, and so we're going to talk about that for a whole episode because
we realized,
there was a lot that
we were going to talk about it this episode, and we realized there's so much to talk about. I saw Carrie Fisher. We both saw J.J. Abrams.
I saw Tina. Saw a movie. So there's just a lot to talk about.
So we're going to make it one special episode for you guys.
Yeah, and Lauren was next to Gary the dog, so she'll talk about that.
I will.
And then after that, we're going to do Force 10 and Navarone and then continue on with our schedule. But, so this episode was just a little segue one to just give some insight into the movie Heroes, which, in the end of the day, was a fine movie. Harrison Ford looks good in it.
So we give it 4 stars?
No. I'm a hard judge. I give it 3.
3, okay.
But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Listen to some Steph Dunn, and we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
F-O-R-N-D-O, you